Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid, and we have my guy, Gregory Mannarino, in the booth with us. I'll be bringing him up on the screen in just a second, but I want to say to you all, we're having major problems with StreamYard. They have been blocking us. They have. I think they're trying to deplatform the show. We've been working on this for the last 3-4 days, trying to. As a matter of fact, since the last live. But I believe this is a problem because we have taken issue with StreamYard because they were stealing money out of one of our accounts, and we took it to the banks or whatever, and the banks have handled it in our favor. And I think now they are being petty and doing something. I won't say that Restream is really doing it. I'll say that we're having problems, and maybe it's because of the where Restream is, but we are having problems with this stuff. And I'm going to bring Greg in. It says device is not connected, Greg. Let's see. Let me see if Greg, if they can bring him to the screen.
Camera won't
Okay,
connect.
There you are. But your camera's not on, but we can still rock and roll, Greg.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't, my camera's working. It's just, I've been trying to connect it. I apologize. It's just not working.
Okay. Oh, it's cool, man. Greg, I just need to talk to you for a minute, man. What is going on before we get into the silver breakout, the gold breakout, and the money markets? What is going on with Donald Trump and his hyperdrive for war and domination?
King, it comes down to this. America is at war from within. We are being destroyed. We're being wiped out. The middle class is being systematically eradicated. Make no mistake, the current war here, wars don't have to include tanks and missiles here. We have an informational war. We have a propaganda war. The current doctrine, if you want to call it that, from the Trump administration is deny and attack at every corner. Hide information, misinformation, disinformation across the board. This is a war, and it is on the American people. Unfortunately, the mechanism here, it's not a surprise, I don't believe, to a single person that follows our work. We've been saying this is exactly where we're going. We are moving rapidly into a police state, a control state, as we are moved into a whole new paradigm. And basically that's what it comes down to, guys. I think everyone here realizes this. Nobody voted for this, period. I don't care what color hat or where your allegiance lies. Nobody wanted this. People saw this coming. You and me saw it coming. We talked about this a million times. But look, guys, this is what happens when you have a divided nation and a people who have been conquered, because that's what's happened here in America. First of all, our nation cannot stand. Any nation, any people divided cannot stand. So with that, we are seeing the collapse of America from within. This mechanism is going to get much more dramatic moving forward, regardless of what the Fed does or not do with their collusion here with the Trump administration. Just expect more of the same. Well, I would say this. These are the same tactics that you would see during any type of a control regime. And that comes to, again, deny, attack, falsify information, propagandize everyone. This is not America. We have devolved into something I would suppose yet to be defined. I mean, there are some parallels here between fascist regimes we've seen in the past and where we are now. Clearly, we are on that pathway. Now, with regard to the market, we all know how this works. The faster they can crush our U.S. industry, U.S. small business, U.S. markets, the U.S. markets will rise on the back of it. The artificial rate suppression, currency devaluation, vast debt expansion. It's a weapon of mass destruction for the American people who are under attack. And I believe that people are starting to see it. They can't take, when people are pushed like they are now, And we're seeing an interesting phenomenon. I've been covering this lately. I've been saying the middle class, the middle class, the middle class for forever here, but now it's starting to affect people in the upper middle class. As a matter of fact, you got the dollar store here. Their largest influx of new customers are those people making over $100,000 a year. So we're starting to hit the upper middle class, and it's not going to stop. The only way it's going to stop is if we, the people, unify, we come together, and we pull off the mask. Now, let me say this. I've been telling people for 1,000 years, it's not so much the mask. We all expect it. It's unfortunate, the political mask, but it's what lies behind it that is where the true ugliness resides. But the fruit is everywhere. I mean, look at what's happening to our country. Look at what's happening to our economy. America is dying, and it's looking for any kind of a lifeline, bro. This is where we come in and our followers come in to band together, to unify and say, we've had enough. And look, man, if we don't do something, and unfortunately, look, there's not enough of us. We've been out here for years and years and years. People thought we were wrong across the board, especially with gold and silver prices and even cryptocurrencies and where the markets were going to go. We nailed it to the wall, not just 90%, but 100%. And it's time where people start listening to those of us who have been correct, because it's too easy to see where we are going.
Yeah, and Greg, do you believe that the mask is coming off right now, and we're looking at just bold, a resort to just blatant piracy, and just imperialism, because they can no longer mask the economic crisis, because they can no longer kick the debt can down the road, and because of they can no longer control the silver gold narrative?
Well, the silver gold narrative, we haven't seen anything yet. This is, we have had, well, I'm not even, this is the truth. The most unbelievable, I think, crime going on here for years with the COMEX here keeping the prices here artificially suppressed. With regard to the price action of gold and silver, let me just say this, guys. Anyone listening should realize that, first of all, if you look at the entire spectrum of asset classes, there is one that stands out. That is gold. Gold is the most stable asset on Earth. Now, silver isn't just a little brother of gold. It's an entirely different element, in that it trades thinly compared to, and when I'm talking about the paper market, which unfortunately is driving the driving force behind the physical market here. But expect volatility. Expect a lot of let's say paper dumping. It's not real. When people see, let's say, it's incredible, the price action of gold and silver fall, let's say precipitously. We're sitting at like $110. Let's say it drops to 90, 85 or so. Is that physical assets changing hand? No, it's paper being dumped on the market. Let me look, the price action via gold and silver. You and I and a lot of people here realize how this is going to work. It really just comes down to the dynamics of how cash moves through the system. The debt market is a monster on a scale that is just too hard to even anyone to get their head around. We don't know, really. It's impossible to discern what would be fair value for debt. What we do know is no one wants our debt. No one wants our dollar, also a unit of debt. The United States is being isolated from every corner right now. The world sees it, but the American people can't see what's going on. But with regard to the price action of assets, I still say this: there's not a single asset, even gold or silver, right now that has any type of an actual price discovery behind it. It can't happen when you have a mechanism here with artificially suppressed rates since the financial crisis, quote unquote, and you've got currency devaluation on a scale that we've never seen before. The dollar has not performed this poorly in over 40 years. People are not being told that. What they're being told by our president is the fastest and greatest economic recovery in American history. Scott Bessent said the week after Trump said that America is back. Maybe for the 1% and 2%ers, absolutely, but for the rest of us here, holding gold and silver and seeing the price action right now. A lot of people write to me every day, Greg, should I buy now? Should I buy now? I've been telling people, I don't even think about the price action because we know where it's going to go. We don't have to guess. I just look at where the market is. Stock market based upon debt market action is at least six to 7 times overvalued. So I still say what I've been telling people for 10 years, we're going to get a 1-to-1 ratio Dow gold. We have to figure out 1-to-1, maybe 2-to-1, 3-to-1 favoring gold at one point as the system continues to melt down. Gold and silver are reflective of the fiat system, the debt-based model literally coming apart. And what's their solution? We need lower rates. We need a weaker dollar. That's our president. He's playing right into the Federal Reserve's grander scheme to own it all. What's a central bank's one strength? Their one power is their ability to issue debt. And the more a president, in this case here, calls for further rate suppression, calls for a weaker dollar, the more America loses. At the same time, it does boost the stock market, so the disconnect becomes even greater. But the reality is it's going to really become a reality. And even at these current prices at over $5,000 gold and over $100 silver, we're going so much higher. People aren't going to believe it. So if we say, okay, the stock market is 6 times, just let's say 6 times overvalued. If we bottom out somewhere around 8,000 for the Dow after the debt market implodes, and it will, is being hyperinflated beyond anyone's wildest dreams. So we're going to get $8,000 gold, could be $16,000 gold, $1,000 gold, and we're going to get it. I say sincerely, the more that I think about it, a 10-to-1 gold silver ratio. So just think about what this means in the grand scheme of things here. $1,000 silver is absolutely possible, maybe much higher than that. And look, what these are, gold and silver are gauges. We can look at gold and silver as gauges, even though the price action is being rigged by the COMEX, and we're just seeing. I think it's the purest expression. Gold and silver are the purest expression of a fiat debt-based system, realizing that infinite debt expansion just isn't a possibility anymore. But it doesn't mean that we are not going to see their solution up until the breaking point, which they're going to pull the trigger at a time of their choice. Now that they have the Fed Treasury complex aligned and they're buying it all, pushing away natural buyers of U.S. debt, it's an incredible thing to witness. They could yank it any way they want at any moment. And that's what I've been telling people. And the warning is this. When they're ready, and they're not ready yet, I still say they need more desperation out of the people. They need the people to hear one thing out of a president's mouth. For example, this is the strongest and greatest economic recovery in history. At the same time, not believe what they're seeing and feeling with their own eyes. And then they're going to beg for a solution. This is all, we are living in, we're not living in real time. You have to realize how this works. The quote unquote government think tanks, so those that actually pull the strings here, we're living in a side effect of what they put into effect years and years ago, and for the selection of Donald Trump here to foster the greatest wealth transfer the world has ever seen, to rape our nation via the Cantillon effect, the 1% and 2%ers here. It's not going to stop. When you got this kind of a mechanism in place, we were warned about this by the creators of the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence, that we would fall exactly into the trap we're in had we allowed our freedoms and liberties to be surrendered to, number one, a central bank, which was never supposed to be a part of the system. It was supposed to be a system of the people, by the people, and for the people here, a completely, arguably unconstitutional system put forth by Congress. Now the central bank working with, of course, those that are running the central bank, and then they got their puppet in there to help foster the destruction of America only to bring in a completely new system of maximum control. And all this goes back to what Trump signed into law in July, the Genius Act. I mean, I've been telling people this. This is the most grossly unconstitutional law that has ever been signed by a president in the history of our nation. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that we can privatize the financial system and allow corporations to issue their own stablecoin tokens backed 1-to-1 with the dollar, a dying asset. Now, Trump's USD1 stablecoin looks like it's going to be the first one. Trump right now is applying to be his own bank. People can look this up. And again, this would legitimize the USD1 stablecoin token to be utilized, or should I say weaponized, against the American people.
You know, Greg, as you were talking, I was thinking about conversations you and I had a long time ago. And I remember when I was buying silver at, I think it was like $9 an ounce. And I remember you were saying, man, people are going to think I'm crazy, but silver is going into the triple digits because of the system needs debt. It needs more debt. And the more debt it takes on, the less control that these people will retain over the system, and things will go hyperbolic. And as you were talking and I was thinking over this stuff, I looked down and I saw a comment from one of our viewers, and she said, we need constitutional money, LOL, gold and silver. And do you believe that there's any more gold or silver in Fort Knox?
Isn't that interesting? You know, you remember Elon, you know, the Doge thing, which I told everyone was a fraud since day one. No one believed me. Of course, the red hat people thought I was out of my mind. Of course, they all lost. They're going to continue to lose. You see what Trump is doing right now? He's selling gold and silver at extreme premiums. The man is this, you know, look, I guess you got to give him credit. He does know his people well, and he will prey on them until they're absolutely sucked dry. Let them lose. It's unfortunate. We've been trying to help these people for a very, very long time. Do I think there's any gold left? You know, first of all, it doesn't even really matter anymore. There's no way on this earth, off this earth, or anywhere else that we're going back into a commodity-backed system, because that would return power to the people. What we're going to get is, again, look, the way the Genius Act was set up is genius, and it couldn't possibly have been Trump who did it. And the mechanism, the way, I still can't get it out. I've had nightmares about this, how he initially signed an executive order, no central bank digital currency, again, prey as on his own people. Okay, they were like, okay, we're pacified. We're not going to get a central bank digital currency. Then what he does is privatize the entire system, make it untouchable. See, if we had a central bank digital currency, at least it would be, in theory, public oversight. So what you do is you sign an executive order, pacify the people who will fall for the trick. We said it was a trick since day one here. I'm on public record saying that they would find a workaround. The workaround was privatize the financial system, make it untouchable. And that's, again, and put the Federal Reserve in control of the stablecoin token system. You can't make it up. It's orders of magnitude worse than what a central bank digital currency would have been. But, you know, look, man, there's no way we're doing it. Trump, you see, the thing is this. Trump has maybe still a few people that believe he's, I can't believe there's a single person on earth left that would believe this. You know, he could, as you are well aware of, dude, we've spoken about before, end the Fed in 7 seconds. All the Gold Reserve Act of 1934 needs is a signature that would end central banking worldwide. And I'll tell you how it would do that. If we bring down one central bank, if Trump or any president, okay, would sign the Gold Reserve Act 1934, it allows the president to do a few things. Number one, it allows the president to revalue gold at what would be fair value. Fair value for gold, we have no idea what it actually would. Would it be $60,000 an ounce? Would silver be $6,000 an ounce? So, well, a president has the privy to do that, and then monetize that gold and back the financial system with it. Now, this would end the Fed. They would all be on the unemployment line, and it would start a cascade of events. Every single central bank would collapse on the back of that. But they will not allow the central banks, which are owned by a few families of the world, are in full control. I've been telling people it's a minority for a very long time that controls the entire system and is the greatest threat. That's why your channel, my channel, the people here realize, at least I hope they realize, that we have the power because we are the minority. If we unify, if we come together, we can make a difference. And we are. There's absolutely no difference. But anyway, that's how I see it. It doesn't matter whether the goal is there or not. We're never going to know. It's like the Epstein files. Yeah, we're going to get it all out. It's on my desk here. Of course, it's, we don't get anything. And it's part of the, deny, attack strategy, the fascist attack against the American people. When any administration has to resort to deny, attack, propagandize, deceive, you realize where we're going. This is not, we don't even, I've been telling people for a while that we have some kind of a permissioned freedom if we follow the rules, which of course isn't freedom. But I don't even think we have that anymore. We've now surpassed that and devolved into some other thing yet to be defined. And it's an unfortunate thing, but I really believe people here, people who follow our work, we've done a very good job of keeping them ahead of the curve on everything. And look, as me and you, we're not here to change anybody's mind. I want people to listen to our work and then come up with what they think are the actual truths.
And I want to point to something because you hit home. I was looking at these videos on your channel. I always go to your channel. I always go to your work, and you have 3 videos up. 2 from yesterday and 1 from 18 hours ago. And the titles of them are this: Gold and Silver, Trust Leaving the Room, Trust is Leaving the Room. And then you have We're Facing a Stacked Hyper Crisis. And then you have It's Over. The U.S. spends $9.27 to make $1 of growth. Could you please talk to the people and tell them what you're talking about with these 3 videos, because it's very important. They need to know this, Greg.
Well, I would say this: the people that follow our work, they just hear that stuff, and all of a sudden a bell goes off in their head, and they go, "You know what? This is 100% true." The United States has devolved into a system where it can only function from crisis to crisis to crisis, and then each crisis allows, people surrender. They say, okay, well, we have a crisis here. It's going to, let's just expand the debt. Let's kill the currency. Let's suppress rates even further here. And with regard to, think about, this is verifiably easily provable that the United States has to spend as of now, $9.27 to have $1 of economic growth. Imagine if any business was run like that, if a household was run like that. What makes me laugh, dude? I warned people from, I don't know how long ago, Trump is a businessman. He's the guy we need to get to run the country. He is not a businessman. He is a real estate investor, okay? Has no idea of how to run a business. Look at his business. They have failed across the board. The man lost 3 casinos, rigged games, and still couldn't run them. So when people would say that to me, I would laugh. I was like, no, he's not a businessman. He is a real estate investor, and I would have to say that he's good at it. This is how he made his fortune, and of course, scamming and everything else along this side here. But the bottom line is, look, man, we need the people. We the people to govern ourselves as we are supposed to do. When we put our faith somewhere else, okay, you can't serve 2 masters. It never ends well. So the stacked hyper crisis environment that we are in will demand yet another crisis here. We already have a glaring, what's happening to people is an incredible thing. They see prices rising and rising and rising and rising and rising by their own numbers. They see business investment collapsing, our industry dying, and they don't sit back and say, well, what's actually going on here? How do we fix it? I think the simplest solution is returning purchasing power to the currency, but that's not going to happen. What's our president saying? What does the Fed want? The same thing. That is to devalue the currency. That is to artificially suppress rates and expand the debt. No president has been a better friend to the Federal Reserve than this guy. That's why he was selected again. During his last tenure, what happened? What did he say? Tariffs, we're gonna pay off the debt in 3 years. He said that our debt and deficits were going to shrink to nothing. They ballooned faster, as I said it would at that time. You and everybody else, we knew it. Okay, so that's why he was selected again, to allow the system to be made fully under the control of the central bank. Who's the real government? What do presidents do? Look at Trump. He can't say a word without looking from teleprompter to teleprompter. They all do it. They're told what to say explicitly. Now, Trump is an interesting character, and I'll tell you why. Whenever he tries to go off script, and he does, he fumbles his words. You know, he starts playing with like paper clips and pens, and he does it when he goes off script. He cannot speak. He has to stay on the script. If he stays on the script, it works. Once he goes off, he can't speak. It's an incredible thing. Other presidents have gone off script, but this guy takes the cake for it all. And it's funny what they do. You watch a press conference, you watch him speak, wherever he's speaking here, and they go right up to his face because they can't allow people to see the teleprompter on the right, the teleprompter on the left, but you can certainly see their heads move from left to right, from right to left. You know, imagine you and I, we got no teleprompters. We're talking, we're saying it like it is, man. It's a crazy thing. I tell you, it's an incredible thing.
You know, speaking of off the teleprompter, I played a clip one time. I erased it off the board, but Trump he was giving a speech to his supporters, and he was talking about the Continental Congress and the Continental Army and stuff. And he said that the Continental Army went and seized airports. I was like, what? He said in 1776 we seized airports. And I was like,
yeah. Well, yeah, and then Greenland becomes Iceland, and you go off script too, doesn't it? You remember at Davos, he can't talk unless, of course, he's told what to say. Now, look, man. I'm not here. I don't want to sit here and beat up anyone. First of all, I have no dog in this fight. I'm not a Republican, nor am I a Democrat.
Neither am I.
So I tell it like it is. And everyone here knows, and you know, that I was to say the least, I was not a fan of Joe Biden. Certainly not a fan of Donald Trump either. All people need to do, anyone who's still holding, any kind of allegiance here to the president, needs to just look around and see what he's doing to our nation here. Is your alliance with the man or with the nation, or is it to God? All right, period. And again, our nation is dying and it's being destroyed from within. And unless we take the initiative and start to take action ourselves and say we've had enough. The main thing is we need to do is, first of all, we got to return purchasing power to the currency. To do that, we need to hold people to account. That means as our currency is dying, as inflation keeps rising here, first of all, why doesn't anyone question the president when he says we need a weaker dollar? Is it not weak enough? The cost of living forever, people are getting squeezed from every angle. It's an incredible thing to witness. When they hear that, why aren't they saying, no, I don't need a weaker dollar. My dollar is weak enough. I need a stronger dollar. And again, if we return, just the most basic economics here, guys, it's an incredible thing. When you hear a president say that we need a weaker dollar, he's actually saying, let me wipe out our industry, because our industry won't produce if people don't consume. So when you hear that come out of a president's mouth, realize what he's saying here. And I will do all I can to wipe out U.S. industry. And our industry is now in 10 months of contraction. We haven't seen this since the long depression of the 19th century. But this is how America's in the greatest economic recovery we've ever seen, according to our president, of course. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah, it's a parasitic vampire system. I'm just noticing a word here, parasite. It's it's an incredible thing to witness. But I can say this here. I know that people are turning around. My largest expanding group of people that are now joining my Substack here, and anyone who asks for it is going to get a free subscription. Now, I don't know if you know that. No lion will get left behind. If they want to unify and become part of it, I welcome everyone there. But what was I even leading to, man? The whole thing is, I'm losing track of my thoughts here, because it is a blood-sucking system right from the top. And I was saying, my largest group of people that are coming over to the Freedom Platform are ex-MAGA people. And they have grown my Substack substantially as of late. They see it. It took a lot. They're seeing it now. They're turning around. And they're saying, you know what, this isn't what I voted for. People wanted truth. And you can't blame anyone either, bro. We can't sit here. We really can't do that because people want to believe that there's really someone out there that has their best interest in mind. When has that ever worked out in the world of politics? It doesn't work. Unless we, the people, demand change and demand accountability, we're going to still fall deeper and deeper and harder because that's their goal, creating dependency on the system. So the same ones that are destroying it, again, via the mechanisms we've spoken about it for a long time now, are going to offer a solution. The solution isn't going to be pretty. It's going to be more control over. And the thing is, what scares me the most is people are willing to surrender it. They surrender their freedoms and liberties. And I've been telling people this for 1,000 years. That's what America is devolving into, and that's why we're suffering here. We were given the opportunity to really be the beacon of the world. But instead, especially as of late, we have devolved into a thing that the world wants nothing to do with. And the world and God is watching.
You know, Bill Holter says that soon there will be a failure to deliver gold and silver, and then a major calamity is coming. What, Greg, you've been talking on those lines for a while. When do you think that is coming, and when and how devastating will it be for the financial system?
Well, I've been telling people for I don't know how long now that all we need is just one large, let's say, paper dealer in precious metals here to demand physical delivery. Just one. And the whole Crimex situation is going to go up in flames. It's going to happen. I just think it's a matter of time before it happens. But that's not really it, man. How I look at it is how cash flows through the market and where the real price action is going to be. And then look, let me see what else is going to happen. When we have a situation of a hyper debt stacked crisis situation that we've discussed happening as we are now, there's going to be a moment where the system is, well, first of all, the system is completely insolvent. We know that. It operates in a perpetual vacuum. It can never be filled. And who pays for it? Well, we do. Okay. There is going to be a moment where where the system cannot absorb any more debt. And we're seeing that now. How are we seeing that is because, again, the people are getting sucked absolutely dry. And they need to come up with whatever comes up next to continue to pull debt into the system, whether it's taking over another nation, financing everything over there, Trump, Venezuela here. You know, crude oil is going to drop in price, Greg. You don't know what you're talking about. Crude oil has surged higher since we took Venezuela. And people are, didn't tell, Greg doesn't know what he's talking about. I've been hearing that same thing. Well, I don't know, for well over a decade. It looks like I would say 98% of the time, I've been pretty much correct. These people, again, they live in a delusional state, and you really can't blame them because they want to see change. They really believe that there would be a change, but that's the lie. That's the bait and the switch there. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. I have a plan on day one to reduce inflation. It's gone nothing but higher here. I have a plan from day one to reduce our debt. From day one, it's gone parabolic, it's gone vertical, and we'll continue to do so faster moving forward. But the bottom line is, the entire, how devastating is it going to be? That's what you asked. That was your question, right? Let me say this.
Yes.
The entire system runs on credit, the flow of credit or debt through the system. Once that mechanism becomes impeded, everything stops. I tell people, look, from a financial standpoint, I still say, even at the price of silver right now, it is the most undervalued financial asset on earth. However, what it really is going to come down to is a locking up of the financial system. And there's a precedent for this. During the financial crisis, Ben Bernanke, the contained, everything is contained. We have nothing to worry about. Yeah, that was also a lie. And anyone that bought that had to be really drinking too much Kool-Aid. But it's, the bottom line is we're going to face that same kind of a mechanism. But exponentially, orders of magnitude worse. A complete freeze up, a locking of the credit system. The entire system is built on the flow of credit and debt. Now, when the system locks up, again, no access to bank accounts, no cash anywhere, zeros across the board, going to be pandemonium. This is where the new system, we have a solution for you. But as the debt system collapses, okay, and we see rates spike in an uncontrolled fashion, what do you think? Why does anyone here think that that the Fed Treasury complex has been established? They have unified to buy all the debt, to fund it all, push away natural buyers. If they could corner, and they have cornered the market on U.S. debt, they can do whatever they want at any moment. That had to be done. And then you have Jamie Dimon working with Bessent and Trump to remove all of the safeguards that were put in after the financial crisis, so the public will then bear the brunt of all of the financial system, and then the new system comes about. But that's not even the issue. Isn't about wealth, about how to even preserve your wealth. What's going to end up happening is a systemic lockup. There's going to be pandemonium in the streets, and what are they going to do? I mean, I'm talking about pandemonium in the streets where people can't gather resources. Many millions of people are going to die in the streets. I wrote many papers about global debt, the human bubble, one from over 10 years ago, about 10 years ago it was, and then a few recently here. So it's going to come down to a resource problem, not because resources aren't there, but because we can't get them because the system is dead. So, of course, there's going to be government rationing, government control. Police state will be then established as well, and people will willingly surrender their freedoms and liberties, as they always do. History has shown us to be taken care of when they are desperate. So that's what it comes down to, again, is that it's we need each other. We need to rely on each other because that's all we got. But you see what they've done by dividing the nation, by putting in this thing. Trump's not human. None of them are human. He's a thing. I know you're laughing, bro, but to be human, you have to have empathy.
Yep.
You have to be able to live with yourself and your decisions. What this administration is doing is destroying our nation and its people with it, our industry, its small business, everything is being destroyed. They have no conscience. They are not human. And I really believe that they all are answering to a very, very dark force. The singular puppet, if you want to call it, that is pulling the strings behind it all. President Trump said straight out, he's not going to heaven. People don't want to believe that. Look it up for yourself. President Trump said that. He's telling you who he serves. You see, look, man, they operate off of a different book than we do. Okay, their book demands that they have to mix truth with lies, and it's a deception mechanism. I think we're pretty much aware of it. But that when I say that they're not human, I really mean it. I mean that they're lizard people. I mean that they have no human qualities behind them at all. And I think America is dying because of its disconnect with its connection to the source. And its president that we quote unquote elected. There was no election here. How this thing, not human, could be sitting behind the Resolute desk. We are cursed, and our nation is failing because of that reason. They found a way here to steal whatever wealth is left right out of our nation, out of its people, out of its industry, out of its small business, to enrich the 1% and 2%ers. And they have the golden parachutes, and what's going to be left in its wake is going to be beyond scorched earth.
So is that the reason that they're pushing more provocations around the world, Greg? Because a lot of people want to, you and I, we talk about things like this, but for the people that don't know, is desperation and what's going on right now is what's causing them to put in irrational and unsound policies and to provoke the world to war and color revolutions?
Well, of course, all that definitely plays into it. Further division, further debt expansion, keep people confused, keep them fearful. Again, crisis to crisis to crisis gives them an excuse to fund anything that they want to fund, and it just won't stop. It's going to keep going on and on and on until we, the people, say that we've had enough. Let me just read something to you real quick. Listen, and this is something I put out this morning here. So I wrote here, I was trying to explain to people how this state, U.S., is the government run by the Fed, they fund it all, is moving from a buyer to owner in the market. So Lockheed Martin, this is the United States is taking up stake in defense contractors. Do you think there's maybe a conflict of interest here? I don't know. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick admitted that 97% of Lockheed Martin's revenue is from the government. Where does that cash come from? Boeing, U.S. government accounted for 42% of Boeing's consolidated global revenue. Planter Technologies, 55% of their global revenue comes from the government. The other big five contractors here, we're talking about Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics, receiving hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars from the U.S. government. We're not supposed to know that. And how about what Trump did? Look at how many financial crimes and fraudsters that Trump has now pardoned. Meanwhile, he's all about fraud, right? That's what we really were. ICE is going after fraud. They're not, they're not going after the immigration people anymore. They're going after fraud. You can't make it up. This is what I call, in a word, devilism.
Mm-hmm. And Greg, do you think that China's policy on January 1st had something to do with what we're seeing with the silver prices? Because on January 1st it came into effect in China that they implemented strict export license control over silver, and they reclassified silver as a strategic mineral rather than a blanket than just a regular commodity.
Well, yeah, there's obviously multiple factors involved in this. But again, I don't even think about it. I don't think about it because I'm a big picture guy, and I realize eventually where this is all going to get real. It's starting to get real now. Again, not just the price action of gold and silver. The market is it's getting more and more distorted as the dollar. Think about it this way. People say, well, how does it work, Greg? When you have a mechanism that is doing nothing but vastly expand the debt, Trump's people were told this wasn't going to happen. Of course, it was going to change. It's gotten much, much worse here. What happens to the market is it trades on a higher multiple, so you get record high as the economy craters. Not only that, but now that the dollar is getting diluted, losing purchasing power, it takes more dollars to buy anything, of course, even shares of stock. So it's just too easy, all this stuff as I've been trying to explain. And so you got a market that's going to trade on higher multiples. First of all, then you got, as we just discussed, then you got the mechanism of suppressed rates. Suppressed rates here allows these corporations to buy back shares of their own stock for nothing, which is, of course, stock market positive as well. And then they get to refi. See, the whole system works on debt refi. Just the United States, as every corporation, they roll their debt over. Now, by keeping rates artificially suppressed here, sure, Rob Savers blind. The United States, people of the United States have lost trillions of dollars in realized wealth by this mechanism. I mean, we already have negative real rates, because if you look at what an average bank account is, a savings account is paying, and then you look at their rate of inflation, which we know is exponentially higher, that's negative rates in real time. But you see, people don't see that either. If they did, there would be a revolution. The White House would be surrounded today with people with pitchforks. But instead, the mechanism is going to continue. It's an incredible thing. It really is. But anyway, so we have to just realize that regardless of what China may do or what any other nation may do, the system is becoming real. What we are seeing is debt saturation, and the price is being paid by the people. Now, it's being paid all over the world, but it's being paid here, the United States, which is the hub the most. This is almost like the test bed to see what a free people, quote unquote, are going to allow their so-called elected, which we all know are selected leaders, to get away with. It's an incredible thing. People think they elect a president, but then the president gets to select whoever he wants. Let's say like the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. And I'm sure this is what the exact guy everyone wanted to be U.S. Treasury Secretary, a homosexual male married to a man, of course, with adopted children, a former George Soros guy. This is exactly who the American people wanted. This is their trust. They're going to put their trust in this guy. And everybody else are lick nuts, and everyone else here, that we could just go on and on down the whole spectrum Noam, who shot a doll, her own puppy. I mean, these are people that we want to go on and on about, guys. It's an incredible thing. Oh, anyway, that's it, man. There's really not, people are getting it, and I really think that at least 90% of the people here get it. But they're taking action. They're not just sitting back and listening to you and I just talk to them and lecture. They're doing something about it. They're unifying. They're coming together. They're getting this message out there. They become their own central banks. Still, buy gold and silver, guys. We haven't seen anything yet. This is my personal opinion. This is what I think people should do. As the system comes apart, we're going to see multiples higher on both of these financial assets. Moving forward, the market could potentially go much higher as well, as long as they keep rates suppressed and keep continuing to devalue the dollar, and the debt will expand until it doesn't. And we don't have to speculate. We're not guessing. We watch the debt market. That's all I do. I don't even look at the market. I look at the stock market secondarily. The first thing I do every day, I look at two things. Number one, I say, okay, Greg, what is the 10-year yield doing? Number two, I look at the Dixie, or the relative strength of the dollar. What is that doing? There is a compensatory mechanism that exists there, which I won't even get into. But basically, if you have an overstanding of what the 10-year yield is doing and what the Dixie is doing, you can make, I'm talking about accurate predictions as to how cash is going to flow through the market to an unbelievably high order. So we don't guess. We watch the debt market, currency as well, US dollar being a unit of debt as well. And we will know exactly what we need to be doing at that moment. Now, people that follow our work, my work, will know exactly when they need to pull the plug on all this. There's been a lot of guys out here, man, who've been telling people to stay out of the market for years. I've been telling people to get in it, buy more, and every one of them has won. These people who they don't understand why things are the way they are. Yeah, is the stock market overvalued? Yeah, by about 6 or 7 times. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't at least have some cash to work in if you realize it's going higher. We have to take advantage of everything that comes our way, to keep our heads above water in this environment. We are being systematically crushed via what I guess you could call it a silent tax, and that is inflation. And they want us to believe it's at 3-4%. It's exponentially higher than that. People know it. There's not a single roadblock. The Trump administration has not put up a single roadblock to stop inflation, not one. In fact, when you hear a president say we need a weaker dollar, that means you pay more for everything. But where are the red hats? Why are they not surrounding the White House saying, you didn't tell us this. You said that our lives were going to become easier, not harder. Oh, man, I tell you. But people are waking up, like I said. The former MAGA people, my largest growing group of subscribers right now. And that tells me that they're waking up.
Two last points, Greg, and I want you to elaborate before we close the show. You often told me that when this debt market implodes, it would be worse than a nuclear exchange, the loss of life. And I want you to elaborate on that, and also, first elaborate on that, and then I'll give you the
sure. It just comes down to what we said. When the debt market implodes, as we know, as we talked about, the whole entire system depends on the flow of credit or the flow of debt through it. Debt market implosion means all transactions stop, meaning your debit cards don't work, your credit cards don't work, transactions just end. The whole system freezes. You can't go to the first thing that will happen is the stores will be raided. People will raid the stores for food, for water, for baby food. Anyone in the way is going to be trampled to death. After the stores are then completely cleaned out, you're going to see the military roll in with their trucks and their machine guns and putting people at gunpoint here. And maybe they're going to get some rations here and there. People will start to, unfortunately, they will resort to, I would say, survival. And that would mean, of course, when someone else has something that you need, your baby is screaming, your baby is hungry, they will do whatever they need to do to keep that child alive, to keep their family going, to allow their wife to eat. This is where we're going. It's going to come down to a resource problem here. Not that they become scarce because of the availability is going to be limited. There's going to be rations. There's going to be control on an epic scale. And the government, of course, is going to provide a solution. As again, this is no comedy of errors is pushing us in this direction here. This is all deliberate.
And the last question of the day, Greg, is you often speak about the expansion of the system and how the system is parasitic. I tell everybody, I say, Greg is always, he always told me that the system needs debt to continue. This is why we're always at war. This is why they're always coming up with some kind of enemy. The world is waking up to this. Do you think this plays a big part in the rush for war around the world now with the U.S.?
Of course. No other human endeavor on earth, off this earth, or anywhere else you want to look, generates a greater need for borrowed dollars than either the buildup to war or war itself. So yeah, the system, that's the way it works. The debt-based system means it must operate in a perpetual vacuum that can never be filled. It must expand to function. It can't function another way. Henceforth, why I said, if we were to go, if Trump were a real human being and a president, he would sign the Gold Reserve Act. The Fed would end. We go back to a wealth-based system. Why he won't? What would happen to the stock market overnight? It would be cut in half, maybe by 2/3. Who owns 90+% of the world's stock markets? The 1% and 2%ers. They will not be allowed to lose. It's also the 1% and 2%ers who are the largest people acquiring gold and perhaps more silver. They know what's going on. If we know it, they know it. Let me say this. Every person that I know of that, well, has even one functioning brain cell has been acquiring gold and silver, especially the wealthy. I do not have a single friend. Well, I do have one, believe it or not, who has a few dollars, who has yet to invest in gold and silver. And he actually contacted me, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks back and said, Greg, I wish I would have listened to you. He said, I wish I would have listened to you when silver was $8. Mm-hmm. I said, dude, silver's $8. What are you waiting for? You waiting for it to go down to $1 before you? This is a real conversation that we had right outside my house. I was living in Las Vegas at the time. And he had said that his biggest roadblock was his wife. His wife didn't want him to invest in these because she thought they were barbarous relics, because I guess she fell on the train like Ben Bernanke. And she believed it. Now, unfortunately, they missed out on a lot. And he has fallen on not so great financial times because his business, his U.S. small business owner, is not doing very well. So had he listened, he would not be in the situation he's in now.
Greg, man, you hit it out the park again. I want to thank you again for joining me on the Red Pill Diaries, my friend. I will give you the video shortly.
All right, bro. Thank you.
All right, man. Be blessed. Be safe. Everybody listen. As I often say before we leave the air, do right by others, not because there's some material gain or some accolades to be had, but do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, remember, God Almighty is watching you. As my late, great, and beautiful mother would always say, God sits high on the throne of power, but he looks low at the actions of man. Know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true. But above all things, remember to stay righteous and hit the like button and subscribe. And also, everybody, please, before we go off there this time, please check your notifications. YouTube has been unsubscribing people. I told you what StreamYard is doing to me. They're deplatforming me. I'm trying my best. They act like I have 500,000 subscribers, but this is what they do to stop the progress of us getting to you guys and awakening you guys to the reality of the time. And we're going, like Greg said, we're going to stay on our post. We're going to do what we have to do. And I want to say to you all, thank you for joining me, because you did not have to spend this time with me and Greg, and we hope that in return you got an equal or greater pay. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Thank you, everybody. We're out of here. Peace.